I don't want to ever see this woman in this house again.
Those words fell like thunder in Mike's living room, heavy and unforgiving. As if the walls themselves had heard and gone silent, the air suddenly felt thick, hard to breathe. Mike's mother stood near the door, her small travel bag still hanging loosely from her hand. Her fingers shook gently, not from cold, but from pain. The woman who had carried Mike for 9 months, who had prayed for him through sleepless nights, stood there like a stranger in her own son's house. Her old hands trembled as though they could no longer carry the weight of what she had just heard. Her eyes slowly filled with tears, not loud tears, not dramatic tears, but the quiet kind that burned deeply and refused to fall. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. Her throat tightened, her lips quivered. She only stared at her son. And then Mike stood, the man who was supposed to protect her, the son who once ran into her arms whenever he was afraid. He stood there saying nothing. He avoided her eyes and shifted his weight from one foot to the other. His hands were clenched, but he said nothing. He did nothing. That silence was louder than any insult. In that moment, a mother realized her son was no longer hers to protect, and a home that once welcomed prayers and blessings became a place of rejection. That was the beginning of Mike's greatest mistake. Before everything went wrong, Mike was a successful young man living in Abuja. He was known by many as a calm and focused man, someone who worked hard and minded his business. Every morning, he left his apartment neatly dressed, moving with purpose, chasing the future he believed was bright and secure. Mike's mother was a woman whose life revolved around prayers. Every morning, before the sun fully rose, she knelt beside her bed and called her son's name before God. She always ended her prayers the same way, her voice steady and full of meaning. "My son, never forget God and never forget your people." Those words followed Mike everywhere, in meetings, in traffic, in moments of doubt. Back then, he listened. One night, after a long week of work, Mike followed his friends to a popular club in Abuja. The place was alive. Music shook the walls, laughter filled the air, and bodies moved without care. It was the kind of night meant for forgetting stress, not for changing destiny. At the club, Mike sat at a table with his friends, loosening his tie while scanning the room casually. He relaxed, unaware that his life was about to take a dangerous turn. That was when he saw her. Julie stepped onto the dance floor with confidence. Her movements were slow and controlled, as if she knew every eye was already on her. As she danced, her eyes locked with Mike's across the room. She did not look away. Instead, she smiled slowly, a smile that felt deliberate, calculated, and inviting. Julie walked towards Mike's table. She leans close, speaking into his ear so he can hear her over the music. Julie was beautiful, mysterious, and bold. She ordered drinks for Mike without asking. She laughed at everything he said, even the things that were not funny. Mike laughed so hard, surprised by the attention. He forgot what time it was. He forgot caution. As the night grew deeper and the music grew louder, something strange began. Mike felt drawn to her in a way he could not explain. A connection that formed too quickly and too strongly. That night, without knowing it, Mike stepped onto a path he would later struggle to escape. Mike did not know that Julie was hiding a very dark secret. While he went home that night, smiling and thinking he had met a nice woman, Julie was already planning something evil. That same night, after leaving the club, Julie did not go home to sleep. She went to a native doctor. The place was dark and quiet, far away from people. Strange smells filled the air, and the room was lit with small candles. From that moment, Mike began to change in ways even he could not explain. Things that used to make sense to him suddenly felt confusing. His thoughts were no longer clear, and his judgment slowly became weak. He stopped listening to advice from people who truly cared about him. When his friends called to warn him to slow down, he ignored their calls. When his family asked him to come home and visit, he kept giving excuses. 1 week turned into months. Mike started pushing away everyone who questioned Julie. Anyone who spoke against her became his enemy. He felt restless whenever he was not with her, as if something was pulling him back. Before anyone could understand what was happening, Mike proposed to Julie. There was no long planning, no deep thinking. Everything moved quickly, as if he was being rushed by an unseen force. It was all happening too fast, far too fast.